Phenomena. Phenomena. Phenomena.
As you can see, my animation is called Kitchground. The genre I chose to do was comedy. The reason why I chose comedy is because I thought I could make something simple but effective which still entertained my audience. At first, I was not going to have any narrative in my animation, but as I was watching it back while editing it, I thought that my animation would be quite boring without any vocals, so I wrote a short script which I then recorded in. I thought this would be effective because my audience could now understand what was happening within my animation. I thought that the characters had a huge impact throughout the whole animation because they are what brought the humour into the animation. They are pieces of fruit that represent kids playing in the playground. And I know kids don't get crushed open in playgrounds, but I think people may find it funny seeing the grapes get crushed open in various ways by the kiwi and orange. When we first started recording, we said we was going to keep the camera in the same position throughout the whole animation, but then we thought that the animation would be boring and also it would be difficult to capture the shots of the kiwi and the orange jumping in the air. So then we started thinking and came up with a number of shots, which was the panning shot at the beginning of the animation, the close-ups of the grapes on the seesaw, the close-up of the orange kiwi with the grapes in the roundabout, the close-ups of the individual sections in the fruit park.
Look who it is! Ah, no!
And the zooming out shot at the end of the animation. We thought this would be effective because it would keep the audience appealed to the animation instead of them watching the same shot of one thing, which would get quite boring. We also thought about lighting when recording. We had the main light on in the kitchen and a lamp we put to shine on the set. They were ineffective because when we was recording by a window and the natural light outside kept changing, so this affected the lighting with the camera. And you can see this when you watch back the animation, some points were brighter than others.
Why isn't it working? Look who it is! It is.
My animation was aimed at young children aged between 5 and 12 because I thought my animation was quite silly and that's what kids enjoy. The main background sounds that I used was the sounds of children playing in a park. And I thought this was effective because it made the audience feel as if they were actually in the park because you could hear the sounds of wind, birds singing, and the various different children shouting and screaming. And for the sounds for the grapes getting crushed, I found a splat noise on YouTube which I thought was good because it also brought the humour into the animation. I used 25 frames per second and I thought my animation was quite fluid. But there were some parts in the animation which didn't play as smooth, and that's because I made the movements of each character too big when I was capturing each image. But overall, I thought that I'd done really well with my animation because I thought that my animation was going to be shorter than the minimum length it had to be. But once I finished editing it, it was actually longer than it needed to be. And apart from the parts which wasn't fluid in the animation, the only thing I'm not happy about is the lighting because it wasn't consistent throughout the whole animation.
Phenomena. Phenomena.